All right, before we start, make sure you guys go give us a follow on our Twitter at @complete_MMA, where you can stay up to date with all of our newest tweets and all of our newest content that we've been dropping daily. It's a good space to go find a lot of the different kinds of mediums that we've been doing. We have been posting about a lot of the upcoming fights. We've been trying to break news on upcoming fights, and we've even been doing a little bit of contest between you and the fans. It's also a great time for you guys to go check out our new community on Twitter, MMA Complete Accumulation, which is home to about 200 people now and growing every single day. It's the best way to get in touch with us and the best way to start conversations with us and maybe get yourself mentioned on the podcast. Without further ado, let's hop right into the podcast. Boom, we're live. Hello, everybody. What's going on, boys?
It's another day.
We're in February already. 2023 is already almost fucking over. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's about to get fucking cold finally.
Going by like
it's about to get
shit.
real cold.
It's going to be negative 2 on Friday and then negative 35 with the wind chill. My cousin in Maine, negative 70.
No. What?
Yeah, negative 70. She's kind of nervous. She is kind of nervous.
I would be nervous too.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. That seems like a fucking lot.
Yeah.
Like, I've been talking to my sisters. They were up to negative 17 today, which is fucking nuts.
Yeah. Negative 7D.
No, I heard.
I know.
That.
Yeah.
I don't know.
With the wind chill.
Yeah. That's pretty crazy. That seems like
your car's not going to be able to start.
I was just about to say you're not going to be able to.
You're not going to be able to go outside. Fuck that. Fucking our car not starting. Like, you're not going outside. You're blasting your heater. You're sitting in front of your heater all day in 2 coats.
So my cousin, I'll just make this short.
You're huddling for warmth.
Yeah, I'll make this short.
Penguins.
My cousin went on a ski lift and it was negative 30 out, and he went down the mountain, he said, and he had like a little like sliver open on his forehead. He said he got brain freeze.
Mm-hmm.
He like fucking had to stop midway.
Yeah, you
He said he got down off the mountain, dude. His cheeks had frostbite on him. It was peeling. Yeah, I don't know about negative 70. I don't even really know about negative 30. There were people calling out of school in Texas because it was 34 degrees out.
Mm-hmm. I remember when Florida got a lot.
Last week, they called out of school for 34 degrees.
I remember when Florida got a lot of snow, maybe last year, or like 2 years ago, and it was the first time in a decade or something that certain town. It might have been Miami. It might have been Jacksonville, like something like that.
It's never snowed in Florida.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, it's the only state.
Recently, it started snowing in Florida.
I think recently.
There was this town that they canceled school because it was 28 degrees and snowing for like 2 days.
They have no plows down there.
Yeah, they have nothing. They're not prepared for that.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's not.
Meanwhile, we had school when it was like 5 degrees and fucking 6 inches of snow on the ground.
I remember.
And we had snow and it was 100 degrees and no AC too.
They would plow the roads. I remember the buses would park right next to the dunes of snow, and you would just I would just get soaked. My feet would just get soaked. Dude. I just remember walking in.
Speaking as someone who never owned a pair of boots, I would always be changing my socks when I got to school when it was snowing out. Like, I would literally bring new socks because I knew that they were gonna be fucked by 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
Especially that slushy shit, which is my least favorite part about the winter. I don't mind snow at all. I actually kind of like it sometimes. I usually do a bunch of shoveling in the neighborhood and make some money. But like that slushy shit, stay the fuck away from it. Fuck that.
I'm done with snow. I fucking retired.
I'm done with snow too.
I might get back into it, but I am not. I had a bad experience. 26 hours straight, freezing, fucking cold. I at the end of the shift, I got in my car, and I took off my jacket, and my jacket did not move. It was frozen. It was frozen. Frozen stiff. It was the worst shit ever.
All right, so we're gonna hop right into the big news coming on this weekend is UFC Vegas 68. And UFC Vegas 68 is the first time we are going to see middleweight Derek Lewis. I don't know if you guys have seen this shit. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say middleweight Derek Lewis?
Yeah, I tweeted. This was a while ago. He's going down to 205.
He's not really. It's not really.
Oh yeah, he is.
No, he's not.
Watch.
I can promise you he's not. He is obviously more muscular than me, and his body looks like my body right now. Like a video or a picture of him circulated through Twitter, and he literally looks like my body. And he's 6'3", and
he's a big boy.
He's a fucking UFC heavyweight. Like, he's obviously more shredded than I am, and I'm 230. So there's no way this guy's going to be able to cut down. But
205.
he is like, he usually walks around at like 270, 280. He might be 250 right now. Like, he's looking lean going into his fight.
Lean. He looked very lean.
So you saw the picture?
I did see the comparison picture on the left and right. He looks
definitely
good.
Yeah, dude. And there was videos of him doing a lot of cardio over the last couple
I
weeks.
saw him running.
Yeah, he was running over the highway.
Texas. Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. He's going up against Sergey Spivak this weekend. And Spivak is a wrestler. And what I find very interesting is that Derek Lewis obviously is the knockout artist. He's the knockout king, most knockouts in UFC history. And he, I think losing as much weight as he did, I think will have maybe a tiny sliver of a negative impact on his power. But for the most part, not really. He's always going to have that power. But what I think maybe he's trying to do is practice his cardio because he doesn't want to have these fucking minute fights anymore. He wants to try to be able to go into rounds 3, 4, and 5. And I wonder if that's going to bode well against Spivak because, listen, if Spivak gets winded before Lewis, especially with wrestling, like if he goes for takedown after takedown, doesn't really get him, and he's winded by round 2, and Derek Lewis is still throwing haymakers, that's it. It's an interesting move for Lewis. He could be trying something new.
Yeah. I think Conor McGregor announcing he's going to host Tough is bigger than this week's fight night, honestly. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, why don't you talk about it?
Huh?
Talk about it.
Oh, no, I think... I think him and Michael Chandler doing Tough is going to be fucking great for the UFC.
Well, it's
great.
It's
great for promotion. Great for future pay-per-views. I think. Michael Chandler could sleep Conor.
It's basically being confirmed that Tony Ferguson versus Conor.
Then I think Tony Ferguson should. I think Tony Ferguson is going to get fucking rocked, and I think he deserves to get paid though. Deserves to get paid. I'm happy for him.
Is that Tony's last fight? Like, how many more fights does he have in his contract?
Michael Chandler has posted so that he's in talks about doing it. So
he
it's not confirmed.
I don't know about how many contracts, but he definitely is like he's on the last 2, and he needs to get a fucking win. You know what I mean?
I don't think it's happening.
What do you give Tony chances if he fights Conor?
Very slim, man. Very slim.
5%.
No,
Conor could break his leg.
I'll give him 20. I think he'll do very good in the first.
Closer than a lot of people think, man.
I think he does good in the first 3 rounds, and I think 4 and 5 he just gets fucked up.
I don't know if it would
not. I don't think it would make it to 4 and 5.
Then you know what I mean.
But I think listen, Tony was doing really well against Nate Diaz until Tony went to the ground, and then he got choked out. Tony's doing really well standing. Tony's leg kicks were fucking up Nate Diaz. Bad. Really badly. And that's a weakness in Conor's game. He gets fucking leg kicked real bad. It was one of the reasons that he went down in his last fight because Poirier was putting it on him. So I think if Tony can open up with that, if he can use good head movement, which he's always had, I know he's slowed down over the last couple fights, definitely, but he still has a little bit of the head movement. I think he might be able to do some damage on Conor. And I don't think Conor is as, we'll never see 2018 Conor again. Never going to happen. So he's still very good. Elite is maybe too strong of a word I would use for him. But, maybe it does go 4 rounds. I don't think it goes to a decision.
No, I definitely don't think it does either.
But I can see, dude, you guys are crazy. And I stay win, but I can visualize. Why did this just kick out? Oh, my Wi-Fi is so bad. I really can. I think that it's most likely Conor does TKO Tony, probably in the 3rd round. But I can totally see Conor getting his fucking legs kicked in so badly that in the 4th round he gets picked apart and Tony finishes him on top of him, just ground and pounding him.
I see something similar to like Gaethje and Tony, where like Tony's just constantly getting rocked and cut, and he's just marching forward, throwing leg kicks, which, you know, probably are doing a lot of damage, but I don't think he's going to be able to stand with Conor and withstand the technical striking that Conor has. Mm-hmm. I think he still has that. Like the boxing, I think he's going to be really a lot than Tony with. I don't know. And he looked really, really bad against Diaz. Or against Gaethje, I should say.
Yes, he did. He looked really fucking bad against Gaethje. I don't know what that was. That was maybe Tony's worst performance and definitely Gaethje's best performance.
Gaethje looked so good in that fight.
That was his that was like his second fight fighting under Trevor Whitman.
I think so.
Back when he got into that camp, and he was amazing in that shit. And it was like one of the first fights. It was the first main event with COVID at the Apex, so no one was there, so you could hear every single shot.
Which was
you just hear
awesome.
Crack, smack, crack. I was like, oh god, dude.
Tony, man, Tony.
Yeah, Tony lost some brain cells that day. It's fucking nuts that Tony was never finished, and then he was finished 3 of his last 4 fights.
With really crazy, spectacular shit, though. You know what I mean? Like, not any bullshit. Like, not just a 1-2 combo or anything.
It took a lot to get him out.
It took a lot.
Especially for that fight, when Charles had his arm bent, like, so
should
badly.
Have broken his arm, totally. Didn't tap, no.
And I lied. It was 3 out of 5 fights, because you think about it, Tony on a 5-fight skid, bro. But look at these names.
I know, huge fights.
Now Nate Diaz, that's questionable. Like Nate Diaz would not be ranked if he was a fully active combatant. Maybe he would, but I doubt it. And if he did, he would be at the very low end of the rankings.
Yeah.
So you got Nate finished him with a 1-arm guillotine. Didn't even lock his hand, 1 arm. But that's Nate Diaz. His jiu-jitsu and his guillotine choke is so great. And then you got Darush, Oliveira, Gaethje, Diaz, and who the fuck was the other? Chandler.
Yep.
So you got 4 of the top 5 lightweights in the world. 4 of the top 6 lightweights in the world.
Yeah.
And Nate Diaz, who is he can beat anybody on a good day.
Who fought the middleweight champion of the world? What, 2 fights ago? Or right? Leon Edwards. When did he fight Leon? Not that long ago. Or a year ago, too.
Who is this?
Nate Diaz fighting Leon.
He did fight Leon.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2 fights ago.
So that's where I'm like, you know, Nate Diaz has fought a lot of good competition too, even though he's not really.
Nate Diaz only fights good competition.
So,
that's been such a great staple of his. But so does Tony, dude.
So, you know, I think that you can't put Nate as a little bit of a blemish. I think that's another really good fight for him.
It is.
You know?
And Tony was winning that fight.
Yeah.
He was 100% winning that fight. He might have been 3-0ing him.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And I think, you know, Heart says Tony, head says Conor. Realistically, Tony would lose to Conor. Like, yeah, he's going to fucking lose to him. But then again, we haven't seen Conor in a long fucking time either. And he didn't look great against Poirier. And that you know, that's at the really fucking high end. Like, Poirier is the 2nd best lightweight in the world, 3rd best lightweight in the world. So it's like, he doesn't look great against Poirier. He's going to look great against 99%. But, yeah, in those two Conor fights, Poirier beating the fuck up.
I'm a big Poirier guy, so I look at those fights and I say, you know, Poirier is just better now. He's just got dynamite in his hands. Mm-hmm. And he's just
there's no weakness in his game.
Yeah,
absolutely no weakness.
He's got all around good game, and but I don't know the 3rd fight. I feel like Conor might have won that if he didn't blow out his ankle. You know, if that fight continued, or his leg. I don't know. You know what I mean?
It was too early
close.
to tell.
It was very close, and it was too early to tell.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I like Conor's chances against anybody because he has that great equalizer. When you think about it, I want want to go to this. The only one that Conor's down the last 6 years, 5 to 6 years, is Cowboy Cerrone.
He's almost got that like John Jones effect, where like he's just got that status of like he was so good, and he's still in the game that he could do anything. You never know. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I can really let you float out an allegation like that. I don't think that Conor and John Jones are on the same level at all.
I don't think
I know.
so
I know
either,
what you're saying. I completely know what you're saying.
I think he has that.
They have that stigma about it.
Exactly. Like, that ability to just with Dana to just be like, all right, give me a fight, and with the bookie, like I don't think it's ever gonna be a huge underdog or disadvantage or a favorite with him.
Yep.
Like it's always gonna be super close. He could always win.
Charles Oliveira came out in a tweet today and said, or not a tweet, on a podcast. It happened like 2 days ago. It just got transcribed today. That said that his fight with Conor McGregor reached contract negotiation levels, and Conor pulled out because he didn't want the fight. And then he accused Conor and Dana White of cherry picking fights for Conor so that he would be in the best opportunity to win. Which to that I'd say, no shit. Like, yeah, of course he's fucking doing that. But I think that it just because it's obvious, I don't think that makes it okay. I think that makes it the obvious thing to do, and I'm not going to say you shouldn't do. But at the same time, when you're a guy like Conor McGregor, it all comes down to whether or not, I get that this is a money business, and this is a cash flow business, and Dana's going to go where the cash goes, and Conor's going to go where the cash goes. But at a certain point, when you're a Conor McGregor, do you not feel obligated to live up to the sacred or the saint or the integrity part of facing top-notch competition? Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
I do, but I just think that Dana does not want to jeopardize Conor's health. And if he puts him in a really big money fight like Chandler, and he does get injured again, and he does go out for 3 years, like what happens to Conor? You know what I mean? Does he retire from the UFC? If he gets a cherry pick fight, maybe he does get a couple more fights in the UFC.
Right.
He builds his way back up, you know. And
I totally get what's happening.
That speaks more to the cash flow thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I totally get that.
I think you're right. I think if you're a real UFC fan, you don't want him to fight any of these bullshit fights. You want him to fight real competition.
I would rather see McGregor versus Chandler. I think that fight is
that's what the money is.
Spectacular. I think that fight. Oh man!
I think they want them both
to
fight one more time.
Timing's really well right now. Yeah. That if you want to wait 2 more months, it really seems to me how Conor versus Tony at Tough Enough is what's gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
Not Tough Enough, the Ultimate Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
But like, listen, July 2nd or July 1st is International Fight Week, and that is usually one of the biggest cards of the year. And I really thought Adesanya Pereira 2 would be on that card, which we are going to talk about very soon, by the way. But that is when I wanted to see Conor versus Chandler. Fight Week, I want 2 titles, and I want Conor main eventing it. Like, you know, some crazy fucking shit like that. Definitely. Like, oh, God, that would have been great. And I'm not going to lie to you. I think for the season of The Ultimate Fighter, right? Obviously, they want to do The Ultimate Fighter. And the last season didn't go so well. There was some people that watched it. Dylan watched it. And he said it was okay. It was all right. But as far as coaches go and makes me want to watch it, Tony is going to do some crazier shit and some funnier shit than Michael Chandler would do. So I think the season, the TV show, will be better for Tony. But I don't think there's a question that the fight would be better with Chandler. And then I think to myself, like, what do people remember about The Ultimate Fighter? It's the fight afterwards. It's not the TV show. It's not the season that happened. It might be some of the fighters that are in it. But then again, you want to watch those fighters fight. So, like, you to me, there is very little reason that this Ultimate Fighter season is not between Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor. I could be wrong here. I always could be fucking wrong. I'm talking out of my ass 50% of the time. But, like, to me, the only reason this is not Conor versus Chandler is because Conor doesn't want that smoke. That's what it seems like to me. Whereas he looks at Tony and he's like, oh, I could be Tony.
Yeah, dude, you could obviously beat Tony. There's a way better chance of beating Tony than he does Michael Chandler.
No questions. And you know what?
The whole world can see that.
I think that Chandler would do really good on the show. Versus,
definitely, he's not as awkward.
He's got a lot of shit talking that he's really good at it.
He doesn't shit talk that much.
But I don't feel like he gets a lot of smoke mouth in the UFC yet. But I think he does have a very loud mouth.
Oh, if he was like committed Ultimate Fighter with Conor, I'm sure he could do it. I'm sure he could. Yeah. But I'm sure Tony could too. Tony's not really a shit talker. He's just more of a fucking. He says stupid shit. He says shit that'll get views, and he'll be like some crazy. He'll be doing Muay Thai out in the Ultimate Fighter garden at 4:00 in the morning on the sunset with his sunglasses on. He'll be doing crazy shit, and I think that'd be really cool. I think it's a contrast between him and Conor. Because Conor's the loudmouth. He's like the soft-spoken guy. Mm-hmm. Conor is the in-your-face. Tony's like the whatever, bro, kind of guy. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I'm interested in either way, and I think that Conor McGregor on The Ultimate Fighter is obviously going to make The Ultimate Fighter must-watch TV, which is something it desperately needs. But I think I speak for everybody when I say I'd rather see Chandler than Tony.
It's so much content.
Me too.
Talk about.
I would just rather see it.
Yeah.
From, like you said, a fight standpoint. But if it is Tony, I don't mind it, man.
Nah.
It's still fine. It's still a good fight.
And you know what? Here's something else to think about. If it is Tony, all right. So say The Ultimate Fighter happened, and they are like the new fighters on The Ultimate Fighter are already arriving at the house in Los Angeles, or wherever the fuck they're doing. I think it's Los Angeles. So this taping is going to start soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like shit's gonna start happening.
They have to start recording shit.
Which means that the actual show will come out like April, May, which means that the fight will happen May, June. And if it's Conor Tony, I think Conor can win that. I think it's a close fight, and I really do think that Tony leg kicks the fuck out of Conor. So barring any injuries there, I think that Conor could fight again in December or something. Like, whereas if he fought Chandler, he'd be out another year because the payday, and then he would also be in a crazy fight. Whereas I think if it's Tony, he also gets paid, but he comes back sooner. So that's a positive aspect of it too. Maybe he beats Tony in May and he comes back to fight Chandler in December. Something like that. Because if you're Chandler,
makes more sense.
If you're Chandler, where do you go if you don't fight Conor? Do you do anything? Is there anybody that you really fight, or do you just wait until the Conor fight?
You could fight. You could fight for the belt, dude.
I don't think so.
No way. Nope.
He could.
He could. It's not going to happen. But
yeah. Poirier.
You know what?
I think Poirier goes on a little losing streak as well here. I think he's a little overrated.
I don't think so. I think he'll sprinkle between losses and wins. I feel like he'll win a couple and he'll lose a couple.
If you think about it, Poirier just beat Chandler. So Poirier would definitely get a title shot before Chandler.
Yeah.
Yeah, look what happened to him. I mean, he did. He's the closest to beating Khabib, but 30 seconds after that, he fucking tapped.
Right.
So,
I know.
I like the Poirier-Makhachev matchup. I think that's a very good matchup.
Yeah, the only shot Poirier's got is if he knocks him out.
Right.
Which he does have better striking. I mean,
that's
those Russian fighters do not have good striking.
The only shot anybody has against Makhachev. You got to knock him out. You're not going to take him to the ground.
You're not going to beat him by decision.
So I think that Poirier has a really good shot.
You think he could lose by decision? Probably
sure.
Pretty hard.
Sure. I think he could. I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely he loses to anybody.
So he could win by decision or knockout. I mean, lose by decision or knockout.
Makhachev?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Poirier, if Poirier can maintain ground control, he could win by decision. But I mean, I don't see that.
I just don't think it happens, man. And if it goes to decision, I don't think it happens either. Makhachev is really good on his feet.
I think he's just stronger.
Speaking of Makhachev,
really
let's jump right into UFC 284, which is happening in only 10 days. We are going to see the pound for pound number 1 versus the pound for pound number 2 fighter in the world face off against each other. And we're going to see Josh Emmett versus Yair Rodriguez, which no one's talked about. Is going to be a fucking banger of a fight.
It is going to be a banger. And you know what? I am going to take Yair on that too.
Yeah, I might take Emmett.
No,
I've been
man.
thinking about it. I really might,
He
but I
should've lost his
gotta
last
do
fight.
more research into it anyway.
And who did he fight? He fought
Danny Gay, I think.
Yeah, Danny, he fucking
No,
smoked him.
Calvin Qatar.
Yeah,
Who did
no,
Josh
Calvin,
fight
I think
last
Calvin. I don't know. The dude got robbed.
Yeah, Calvin Qatar. It's on a 7-fight win streak.
He should have lost. Fuck him.
You guys are, dude. There was a
Even
fucking
Mike
hype video.
Mercado was freaking out.
There was a hype video today on Volkanovski. Oh, I really want to bet on this guy. I've been saying it for weeks. Like, Makhachev's probably going to win, but I really like Volkanovski in this matchup, and I think that he's the fucking shit and all this and that. And I watched that matchup today. Volkanovski's like, I've been training nonstop for this fight since September because he was the backup against Charles.
Yep.
And he's like, I've been only training for situations that I will be put in. 80% of my training is about being taken down from Islam, and then what do I do then?
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you need to do.
I love that video.
And like you always say, Garb, he trains with fucking Gordon Ryan. He trains with the best jiu-jitsu guys ever.
He's always the smallest guy. He's always
had that
strength.
stigma about him. And guess what? He's the smallest guy, and he has a bigger reach than Islam.
Yeah, I know.
And he can put on weight. That's not an issue. And he can be athletic. Wow.
Well, the weight thing. Listen, the weight thing is.
He says he's
a concern
175.
for me.
He says he's 175.
Islam or
Volk.
I don't think it's really a weight concern thing for me right now. You know what I mean?
Do you believe that?
Yeah, he's a picture of a scale. He's 175.2 or 1. I forgot what it was.
All right.
He's 175.
He
so
can
I
be a
mean,
big
like,
boy.
Makhachev's going to weigh more than him in the day of the fight.
oh, absolutely.
No questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Makhachev might be
Makhachev's
185.
Makhachev's also stronger.
Yeah.
And
He
that
is.
bodes well for wrestling. 100%. I do love the fact that Volkanovski's he said he's literally been training 80% off his back. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what you gotta fucking do.
Yeah,
like
but
that's real fucking
And he trains
smart.
with Ryan
is,
Gordon.
yeah.
He's the
Ryan.
world. What? Yeah, Gordon Ryan, the most elite world class jiu-jitsu people.
Mhm.
Like, if
Ever.
there's a dude that's not in that division, that is the guy. That is the guy to do it. If there's a guy not in the 155 division,
Volk's the one to
Volk's
do
the
it.
one
Yeah.
to do it. You know, no one's gonna come down. No one's gonna come down and beat him because
You rarely ever see people come down.
they're
in
not gonna
division.
come down from.
You know,
from
if you
one-
struggled, if you like got to cut weight to make one division, you're not gonna go down unless it's something like a bantamweight going to
Yeah,
fly.
like I don't
10
see
pounds.
Max Holloway going up and beating him. I don't like at all. Like
No, Max fucked.
Brian Ortega, like maybe. Like
Brian's a
like,
jiu-jitsu
that's
guy.
only
If
because
Charles didn't
jiu-jitsu-
do it. If Charles didn't
That's
do it,
what I
Ortega's
mean.
not doing it.
Like this is the only like I'm giving him more.
You need an all-around guy.
Yeah, like I'm giving Brian Ortega more of a chance than Max Holloway or like any other fighter for Islam just because of his ground game. That's it.
Would you give him more of a chance than Volk?
No.
Okay.
No, Volk.
Well, you just said that any other fighter. I
No,
figured
and
you
not
meant
any
other
other
Volk.
fighter than Volk.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know,
I agree with
because you know Max Holloway's ranked higher than Ortega, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like that. I don't. Max Holloway's.
Well,
First round,
Max
he's
Holloway destroyed Brian Ortega. In their
That's
fight.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also.
But it's
think,
not a ground fight. I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
It's a battle of styles. So much of the UFC is a battle of styles.
Yeah.
And when you get a fight like this, that's why these fucking Russian guys are so strong because they always make you fight their style of fight.
Islam, Max Holloway's striking ability, and oh my god, you are looking at a killer.
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why if there was a guy like that.
Because Max Holloway, that's why I'm saying Max Holloway cannot. There's no chance that he beats.
Well, let me
Islam.
ask you this question.
No chance.
Let me ask you this question. What you just described is what I would call a complete fighter. A guy who has unbelievable wrestling pressure, experience, and technique, mixed with a guy who has great striking and great reach. Now, who did I just describe?
John Jones.
John Jones.
No,
That's
no,
it.
No,
That's fucking it.
you can also argue Khabib.
I wouldn't say he has great striking and great range.
Exactly, but if the dude is undefeated,
Yeah.
So maybe you don't need great striking and great range. You
You definitely
good on the
don't.
ground.
You definitely don't need it. But if you have it, it's like, oh, all right then. Like, what the fuck now?
Honestly, from what I've seen in the UFC, these Dagestani guys who are really good at wrestling, who are just super duper strong, if they can get a hold of you, you're done.
Yeah.
They're just gonna climb on you. There's so many different ways that they know how to choke you,
but
armbar you, leg lock you.
Here's the thing about these Dagestani fuckers.
Jesus,
they're good.
That's
they're
a little
too
hostile.
They're
not.
You lost a viewer because of that.
They are too good.
They're not only just wrestlers. Like most of them are, and the more dominant ones are Makhachev and Khabib. But you got guys. Do you guys know who Zabit Magomed Sharapov is? I know you know the name. I know you know the name. Okay, so you got Zabit Magomed Sharapov, who is
shout out him,
a kickboxer, and was the number 3 ranked featherweight, and he never went to the ground. He was a Dagestani guy. He had all the sambo technique in the world with Khabib and all them, but he just kickboxed people because he was better at it, and he would knock people the fuck out. And then you got Magomed Ankalaev, who can wrestle, but is primarily a boxer. But they just make people wrestle. They just make people fight their style. And that is so powerful. That is such a great game plan, because if you're a fighter going up against that, and you know in your leading up to the fight and your game planning that you're going to have to play defensive the whole time. Like, this guy's going to do this. How am I going to stop it? How am I going to counter it? Instead of going into it thinking, what am I going to do to put him on? How am I going to get him to play my game? You're already losing. It's not to say you're going to lose every time, but like that mindset of like, how am I going to survive this guy rather than how am I going to beat this guy? That's already a fucking terrible mindset to be in. And now you got Volk saying that. And he's saying all the right things, and he's the right guy to do it, but he's basically saying like, I'm gonna do this when Islam does this, and I'm gonna try to make this work to make this part of his gameplay not good. And it's like, okay, but like, what are you gonna do? Like, Islam's going to take down Volkanovski. It's gonna happen. There's no chance it doesn't. That's fine. If Volkanovski can get up, and I don't mean like the bell gets him up, but I mean like if Volkanovski can get up once or twice and stuff takedowns going into like 3, 4, and 5, because we've never seen Makhachev. How long did Makhachev fight Moises for? Can you look that up?
3 rounds, 2 rounds. I watched it.
Was it just that much?
2 rounds. 2-round fight.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought he had one fight that went time. Like he had one fight that went into championship rounds. I could be wrong. But that's what I'm gonna say. Like, I don't think that it was middle of the 4th round. I don't think he puts away Volkanovski. I just don't.
How many rounds are no?
He could submit him. He could submit him.
What if Volkanovski takes him down? And he gets off.
See, that's a huge factor too. He's never had fight with, Khabib or the father in any of his fights.
Mm-hmm.
So, is his corner going to be good enough to be able to,
make like mid-fight adjustments?
Yes, with fight IQ. You know what I mean? And that's what I worry about when you talk about Ankalaev, because Ankalaev did really bad with stand-up against Blauschwitz.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting fucked up with leg kicks the whole 3 rounds.
And then he ended up taken down.
And then, all of a sudden,
got a 10-8 in the 5th round.
It just went ham with the wrestling. Mm-hmm. They're wicked good with the wrestling. They do
Khabib's going to be calling him. Khabib's going to be at home and he's calling him like, you got to fucking do this.
But, like, I don't think it's going to be like that with Islam, because I think Islam is knows that he's just so fucking good at wrestling. They are so good at wrestling that he's gonna try his hardest just to get a hold of them and get them in a choke.
But that's what we're kind of saying here. Like, listen,
and I think that goes
Volkanovski's
advantage.
I think that Volk has more options to win this fight. Like what you just said. What if Volkanovski takes him down, gets on top? That's a possibility,
dude. That is a very
that could happen.
I want to see that.
Whereas throw it the opposite way and say, what if Islam outstrikes Volkanovski? Yeah. And I'm like, that's not gonna
I don't see
happen.
I
listen,
much more
if
success
Volkanovski
taking him down
outstruck Max Holloway by a lot, like dominated Max striking.
Talking about one of the
Islam's not gonna do it.
boxers.
Islam's not. Islam made him more power. Islam could land an uppercut and possibly rock Volk.
And that's
he's
what
not going to outstrike him.
Worry about too is just the haymakers, like just
Right.
the one or two haymakers that they might throw, the overhands.
And that's what's so difficult about these. We saw the Khabib fight where he threw the overhand and knocked down Conor.
Yeah,
but that's what you got to think about with these wrestlers.
They're
so worried about the level
Charles
change.
too. Islam did it with Charles. He hit him with a couple hooks.
Yeah.
Awful technique.
They're so worried about the level change.
Bad technique.
They're so worried about him like going down, trying to go for something that when he goes down and comes over, you're like your hands are down and you're trying to stop the takedown.
You're going to stop.
And you're looking down, and that's when you get popped. So that's a big part of it.
And I feel like you're just.
It wasn't scored a knockdown, but that was a knockdown.
No.
Just like Colby didn't take down Kamaru, but he took down Kamaru.
He didn't knock him down. He pushed him back.
He got him in. He got him on one knee.
Back.
He got him on one knee. So if you don't want to call it a knockdown, it's totally fine.
He didn't get on one knee. He didn't. He went all the way back to the cage, and the cage held him up.
But I think that, listen, Makhachev is minus 380 against Volkanovski.
I'm picking Volk. I'm not.
Volk is plus 300.
I'm sprinkling Volk.
Volk's last fight against Max Holloway, he was minus 230, and now he's plus 300. Is that not the biggest jump we've ever seen from two fights?
So much disrespect.
It's crazy. I think it is.
Probably not.
I think it is disrespectful. I don't think that's
next fight versus.
Amanda went from minus 900 to minus 350, so that's 550, and Volk's at 552. Okay, so it's that fucking level of change. Like that is drastic. She opened up at like minus 1100, and by the time of the fight it was minus 900. I remember it was minus 900 because that was the biggest upset of the year last year, or 2 years, 2021. That was. It might have been 920.
I think it was the biggest upset.
So like,
not even betting wise, just fight.
There's some news. There's some news about Amanda Nunes too. You guys want to hear this shit?
Whoa,
spit it.
Okay, so you got your three top bantamweights in Nunes, Juliana Pena, and Irene Aldana. Those are the top three bantamweights, or at least the top three in contention for title.
Did you know that? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't.
Because you also have Holly Holm, but she lost her last two, but she's like the number 2 contender.
I know her.
Yeah.
Because of Ronda Rousey.
Irene Aldana versus Amanda Nunes was targeted for UFC 285, John Jones, because Pena versus Nunes.
Again.
Pena wanted, in Dana White's words, too much money. Listen, that's the fight to make. That's a fucking trilogy of the only person that's beaten Nunes lately. Like, that is the fight to make. 100%. I don't care if Nunes just beat the shit out of her in her last fight. That's the fight to make.
Yeah,
Pena versus Nunes 3.
What happens, Zach?
But
what happens?
Hmm?
What happens in that fight?
What do you mean?
Nunes wins by decision.
Yeah, Nunes fucking knocks her.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think she knocks her
No,
out.
we had this conversation last podcast. You don't like the women's divisions. I get it. I totally get it.
No,
it's not competitive. It's not competitive.
What, you like them?
Absolutely. I do.
You never talk about them. You never write about them. You never post about them.
I do.
So you must not like them.
Okay.
You're doing the same thing.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that.
No,
So,
I like. All right, hang on. No, I like the women's division, right? I just think it's badly promoted, and I think it's not fun.
Okay.
But I like.
So what's going on with the bantamweight division is that he wants to make the trilogy fight. Pena won't accept for money, and then so Dana was like, "All right, totally fine. I'll give you the next girl up." And then they were going to make Nunes versus Aldana, but now Nunes is saying she doesn't want to fight Aldana until Aldana versus Pena have a number 1 contender fight.
Wow. I already was snoozing.
This is like almost like the lightweight division. Like nobody wants to fight anybody.
Right.
Like it's just going to be a standstill now, and we're just going to wait and see who's just going to be like, all right.
Like Amanda Nunes, like, why the fuck don't you? Why aren't you just like, I don't care, whoever you want to fuck.
She rocks everybody in the division as long as she's on her game. No questions. We all talked about how she's just light years ahead of the competition.
Right.
And
I don't know why they don't make a Nunes Shevchenko 3 fight. That's what I don't get.
I thought about that too. Like, what's the problem? They don't want to like.
That is the best-selling women's fight that could possibly be made right now. That fight's not even boring. Max Holloway lost twice to Volk. They made that third fight. I think that's a good fight to make. In
Shevchenko. Since
mind
Volkanovski and Max Holloway fought 3 times, which both fighters are way more promotable than either of those girls. I think way more promotable.
All right,
it's just.
I'll stop.
No, you don't have to stop. It's just logic. It's just who do you think's gonna win? Shevchenko or
I do 100%. I think Shevchenko could win. 100%. Shevchenko's gotten so much better.
Every fighter could win. She's lost to her 2 times, and it was not even close.
One of them was split decision, dude. One of them was very close.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Pena did really good in the second fight, even though she did get rocked a bunch. She did hurt Nunes.
She did all right, but Nunes
it wasn't amazing. But yes, it was. Yeah, Nunes complete domination. But
unanimous.
But that's still the trilogy to make.
It is
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, because there's nothing else going on.
But I think Shevchenko is a better fight. I think Shevchenko.
100%. Champion on champion. Both best in the divisions for years and years.
Number 1 and 2 pound for pound. They haven't fought in like 5 years.
Make it the trilogy, whatever. Let's see it.
Let's do it.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, makes something exciting happen.
What else do we want to say? Oh, favorite fighter tournament. Okay, guys, go check out our Twitter @complete_MMA. We've been posting a lot of updates lately. We've been doing a lot of cool shit. We've had a lot of good traction over the last couple weeks, so you can go join us on the fun in that. Make sure you go join our community, MMA Complete Accumulation, where we have real up-to-date live chats with you guys, respond to everything you say, and it's a great way to get our attention and, have anything you want to talk about, be talked about. But what we've been doing on Twitter lately, and I can pull up the actual results so we can talk about it a little bit, is we have done the top 32 favorite fighters, not best fighters, but like crowd favorite, biggest fan base fighters, and we put them in a tournament against each other, real tournament style, so number 1 seed versus 32 seed in that like actual matchup basis. And we've gone through 2 rounds so far. So the polls are 2 days long, and we get, I think that every single poll has had at least 50 votes and up to 200 votes. So it's been actually a very good basis of data. And we have been getting a lot of feedback on Twitter. So it's demographics of all shapes and colors and sizes. So everybody's getting accounted for. And we are down to the top 8. And I'm sad to say, boys, I'm very sad to say that in this last round, in the round of 16, Colby Covington and John Jones were both eliminated. So
it's going to be O'Malley.
I no longer care about this tournament because my boys have been eliminated. But I think it's still fun for you guys. Just so you guys know, @complete_MMA, we will be dropping round 3 or the Elite 8 tomorrow at noon. That's February 2nd, Thursday at noon. The polls will last for 2 days. And you can vote for them on our Twitter. Please do, because I really want to get to the bottom of this. It seems very likely that the top 2 seeds will go, but I got to tell you guys, there's a couple dark horses in here. We're going to talk about it. So tomorrow we have, in my opinion, the most interesting matchup of this week, and that is Conor versus Volkanovski. Now, Volkanovski has won both of his matchups with over 80% of the vote. He beat Bilal Muhammad and Dustin Poirier, both of them over 80%, which I didn't think would happen. He faces Conor McGregor, who Conor beat Robert Whittaker with 53% of the vote. Conor almost lost to Robert Whittaker. I was very surprised that was that close. Conor versus Volk. I think that because Volk is in the news right now, and I know Conor is too, but Volk obviously has a fight coming up. Like he's like the same amount of media coverage right now as Conor, which is saying something. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he's getting voted a lot. But Conor versus Volk, if Volkanovski can beat Conor, that is a fucking upset. It's a huge upset.
I think he could.
Oh yeah, it's a big upset. Well, I think
he does.
Could.
I think he does. I think he does.
Conor almost lost to Whittaker.
I think Conor squeaks it out, and we see Conor O'Malley. The only reason why Volk wins this week is because Volk's fighting very soon, and he would be more into the algorithm and trending.
Yep.
So that would be the reason why Volk would win. Kind of a bias thing, maybe, but it could happen just because of that. Shit happens in
about
the
a
playoffs,
dominant
bro.
champion that's
Shit
been
happens in the
around
Elite
for a
Eight.
long time.
Mhm.
So I don't know. He could have a really good fight.
Second interesting thing
O'Malley.
in this week
And Max
Me.
Holloway.
is Tai Tuivasa is my dark horse to win this whole fucking thing. Tai Tuivasa is the other fighter that has won 80% on both of his fights or both of his matchups.
A lot of
He
people like
beat
the shoes.
Raul
bro.
Rosas over 86%, and then he beat Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman beat Paddy Pimblett, and then Tai Tuivasa beat Kamaru Usman by 81%.
That's crazy.
So Tai Tuivasa is fucking people up, and he goes against Tony Ferguson.
I think he's just popular.
Well, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
People
lost,
love him.
But he is
so
he's
people
popular.
love him.
He has
and
a
I-
lot of social
and
media
I've been putting
shit, a lot
pictures of the
people love
shoey.
his funny
bro.
shit.
They
People
love
love
the
the shoey,
shoey.
dude.
Yep. They love it.
He's a cool dude.
So you got Tai Tuivasa, 13 seed versus Tony Ferguson,
He's
12 seed.
relatable.
Tai Tuivasa is
People
our
like the
highest seed.
Aussies. The Aussies are cool people.
Yeah.
They're not. They're like, I don't know.
Well,
they're
don't
just
tell
cool
don't
dudes.
tell that to Israel Adesanya because he didn't even make it past the first round. That was the craziest thing. Tai Tuivasa is my dark horse to win this whole thing. I think
Just
there's a
well,
fucking
hang
chance.
on. Go back to that. He just lost. Kind of lost a little hype facing Pereira.
Mhm.
0-3 against him. You know, I can see why.
Yeah, but he
I
still
think
has such
you do this before the Pereira fight. Oh, he's winning.
right, and that's why I thought Pereira would have been better in this tournament too. But Pereira lost to Tony in the first round. I
Yeah.
thought he would have beaten Tony.
But
It happened right around the time
retros-
Tony got announced as possibly the guy for Tough Enough or for the Ultimate Fighter. Was another big part of it.
that and Pereira